Where at vile beginners of this fray?
You rat-catcher!
Romeo, the love I bear thee, no less time ever be. Thou
Plague on both your houses!
There's a line in that Juliet speaks actually in the play where she talks about there are kind of, you know, many hours or many days within a minute, and she sort of it's all based around the idea that time is kind of not running as you expect in the play. Things are sped up, things are kind of slightly off kilter, and the fact that the play only takes place over 5 days, or kind of around 5 days, we don't really know. That was a starting point actually, just because I thought it was such a bonkers idea that there's so much that he crammed, he being Shakespeare, into just a 5-day period, and that always just kind of always stuck in my head really about the play. I was going through old books from university, and I came across a book of poetry by William Blake called Songs of Innocence and Experience. It's a book of poetry that the first half he wrote were songs about innocence and youthful vibrance and carefree nature of, you know, of that. And then the latter half is about kind of facing up to the harsh realities of the world and society and all those sort of things that kind of make you jaded and a bit twisted. And I guess the two things sort of just came together in my head as a starting point of, well, that's kind of what happens to Romeo and Juliet. There's almost a split directly in the middle of the play where they have to go very quickly from innocence to experience. It's got a combination of Shakespeare in the Park that are brilliant at site-specific work, and Matt Garfield, you know, is a genius at that kind of stuff. All the community experience of the Lichfield Players and all the people involved, their membership, their core audience. And hopefully what I'm bringing is just that slightly quirky off-the-wall angle to kind of bring it to life on stage. I often, when I'm approaching a play and how I'm going to do it, sort of the structure of it, the vision of it, or whatever it is, I have too many ideas. There's too many ingredients in my head, and they don't fit together, and so I end up having to jettison lots of them off, and I usually save them for something else. But the one that really stayed, and that made me think this could really work, was the idea of having multiple Romeo and Juliets, and it worked for lots of different reasons. In my head it worked financially, because and this is a very mercenary thing to say, but the larger when it comes to community arts, the larger cast you have, the more audience you will have. I've been selling this as a community driven piece of theatre, something to really bring lots of different groups together and give people a chance to do things they wouldn't usually do. And that, for me, artistically, it was really exciting to think about how they would age throughout the show and how we'd link them together, just all the logistical things to do with that. And the key thing is, the play now becomes truly an ensemble piece. I mean, but absolutely is. There are no lead characters in this show. And that was the moment, I think, realising, okay, that works. It works with the kind of the theme that I'd had all along about time and how time changes. But actually, if we had 4 Romeos and 4 Juliets, it just made sense on every sort of single avenue, artistically, financially, community-wise. I always like taking a play and doing something slightly different with it, but at the heart of what I do, I still need to interpret what the playwright was intending, or was it that, you know, is at the heart of it, or try to interpret what I think is at the heart of it, and try to be true to that, I think. Otherwise, it ends up being something completely different. You know, it's a Romeo and Juliet that was never even written, and I think that's a step too far. So my vision always, I think, has to be linked to kind of what Shakespeare intended, or one of the things he intended. And I think that idea of time and time passing and the speed at which it's passing and the forcing of those characters to face up to the experience, as I refer to, or the harsh realities of life, that was always at the forefront when I was reading it. That's the most exciting and sad thing maybe about the play as well. They don't get to be young for very long, and then other things fall into place with, you know, the use of seasons running throughout the show. That was something that kind of occurred a little bit later on. Yeah, it's satisfying, I think, is the word. It's kind of you feel like I'm not forcing a square peg into a round hole, or vice versa. It actually genuinely fits. And I think when you feel that as a director, you're kind of quite happy to run with things then. But the cast bring lots of it as well, and the production team, they'll kind of bring things to the party and ideas, and how they, you know, how things can kind of build on your original idea. They're always the best ideas as well. You know, because you've got a hive mind at work. And also what that usually reflects is that everybody's on the same page as well. And we're all kind of driving towards the same thing. And I suppose that's kind of the biggest part of my job, really. It's just making sure that if I've got a cast that are all on board and all working towards the same kind of artistic goal, then I just kind of harvest all of their best ideas and build them into the production. And yeah, I make no bones about that. I tell them all the time, I will steal your ideas left, right and centre. So, you know, so bring them. And that's kind of how it happens, really. There's also something kind of sort of gothic and tragic about the, you know, the play as well, that really suits the interior of the cathedral. And I suppose the kind of grandiose nature of it, it's a big play, isn't it? It's a big kind of momentous sort of tentpole production of Shakespeare's works. So to find somewhere like the cathedral that kind of matches that is just quite exciting. So the staging involves a very, very long catwalk that comes out into the audience. And I guess it's kind of a little bit symbiotic, actually, because we need the catwalk because we need to get the actors so far into the cathedral that they can be seen and heard, hence the catwalk. But also, I would want to have a catwalk regardless, and we need the space therefore to have that. I just think it's a really immersive thing. But I want to go to the theatre and I want to be really surprised and come out and go, oh, I was not expecting that. That's the joy of Shakespeare, though. You can do anything, you know, absolutely anything with it, as people see in this production. You know, the prologue happens at the end. You know, there's flashbacks and things in a different order, and characters aren't who you're expecting them to be. And yeah, that's the best type of theatre for me. Should be surprising, challenging, I think. I guess one of my kind of attributes as a director that I think I'm pretty good at, sometimes I can't explain myself very well and I have to demonstrate it, but what I think I do have is I can visualise things. I think maybe that's why I like film so much, actually. I see it almost as a film playing in my head, how I'd like it to look and sound. And Carter will tell you, I'll often say to them, trust me, there'll be a sound effect here, there'll be a lighting cue, and this will work. Whereas obviously in the rehearsal room, oftentimes you won't have it at that stage, and so it will feel a bit empty and a bit strange as well. But as for the vision for the show, I want it to be on a large scale. It needs to be on a grand scale to fit the cathedral. So it's got to be quite epic, I suppose, might be a word. Hence this sweeping catwalk that comes out into the audience, and you're halfway down the cathedral. And the set design will reflect that. I don't want this. I'm really not a fan of painted scenery at all. All the sets really I ever use are quite structural sets, and I like people being able to climb stairs and hang off things, and so that's what it will look like. It will be a structural set in the middle of this beautiful space. No scenery as such. Why would you? The scenery is the cathedral. You know, I'm not going to better that. No scenic designer is going to better that. There'll be a large tree on the centerpiece of the stage, but that's it really for the scenery, which will change in colour as the seasons pass. But really, that's it. Everything else then is just being told by characterization. But yeah, so that's the kind of vision. This timeless piece with a sense of history, but a sense of modernity. I have kind of tentpole characters that I know that I want in place, and I can therefore build the look of the other characters around them, or indeed sometimes the playing age of the characters. In this particular, because it's so ensemble formed, I know I needed an incredibly strong Benvolio, which isn't the usual character you worry about in Romeo and Juliet, but Benvolio carries a huge amount of the story.
And the way I've looked at Benvolio's role is her relationship with Romeo and Mercutio. So they've got a lovely familial but friendship dynamic as well. Benvolio is very balanced and tries to keep them on the same track, but isn't that successful.
In the flashback sequence at the beginning of Act 2 has to really sell a massive chunk of the deaths of two main characters. But the other two characters that were my tempo characters were the nurse and Friar Lawrence, or in this production is referred to as priest, because they carry a huge amount of the story. Usually it would be Romeo and Juliet doing that, but because they share it amongst themselves, actually there's not a huge amount of stage time for them individually. Nurse and Friar Lawrence drive the narrative, and they remain constant throughout. I knew I needed somebody who could really play to the comedy of the nurse, and I knew I needed someone that could be quite commanding on stage and reflect their kind of checkered past of how I was going to play the role for priest. I always like having characters in shows that are seemingly cameo roles, and not that those three are in any production, and then really exploring them. I guess it's maybe something about championing the underdog. In this production, actually, it's Peter. Peter's the kind of the serving man of nurse. And only has a handful of lines. I've actually joined that role to another one at the beginning as well. But I just love the role. I think that the nurse is so overbearing, this poor lad that's having to drag her bag around after her. So we've got these little beat moments with Peter as well. And I knew I wanted an actor that could play to the comedy of that, and Jack's doing an absolutely sterling job in the role. But yeah, so I like those smaller roles. I just think that you can have a lot of fun with them. Lord Montague is another good example of that. We've embellished that role somewhat, where we've got Lady Montague has taken Lord Montague's line. She's the matriarch of the house now, and he's this kind of idiot that just sort of echoes some of her lines afterwards, kind of like the person in the meetings you have at work that hasn't actually got anything to say, but will just kind of repeat half a sentence of what someone said before them to try to make themselves sound important. That's the character. So what I would hate to happen is I don't want there ever to be a character, however big or small, to be on stage and not have a real character, not have a sense of who they are or something to hang their hat of, or have fun with it. So I'm hoping that literally every single role in this show, even if you only see a glimpse of it, you're like, I wonder where they're going when they leave the stage. It's like the mechanicals in Midsummer Night's Dream, when Bottom, and Nick the Weaver and things like that, they go off stage. They're the sort of characters you want to know what happens. They can write an entire play just about where they go and what they do. Well, they did, and Tom Stoppard did, in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead. What happens when they leave the stage? The way I direct plays, I'm constantly worried about time. Always worried about time. I'm always, my rehearsal schedule, I tick off each one, and as it gets near the end of it, I start to panic. And I've always had it. I know some directors that I know, they'll spend ages working on the first scene and really picking it apart and bringing it to show level. Really working it to show level, because they think then it's going to inspire the cast. Now they'll get buy-in, and they're absolutely right. It does. It's a brilliant way of working. I just can't do it. I have this inbuilt fear that I'm going to run out of time. Or something's going to happen to me halfway through and there won't be a play ready, or something. I don't know what it is. It's irrational because it's never happened. I've directed over probably 150 shows or something like that, and I've never run out of time. I always make time. So the way I do things, which I have to constantly, I think, reassure the cast that it's not always going to be like this, is that I'll loosely block the entire show, and I'll do it quite quickly. So it's got a skeleton of the whole performance. So all the actors within sort of 2 or 3 weeks of rehearsing will know where they're coming on from, where they're standing, where they're moving. Now within that, once they've got that skeleton, they can change things. I want them to. They can move things. They can, shift slightly later. But I'll know in my head, and I'll feel kind of, it's a safety blanket thing, that I can say run, and they could run the whole show. It will be awful, and it will, and it's really clunky, and the lines perhaps don't have the right meaning, and that's why I constantly have to reassure the actors and say, look, I'm just giving you the skeleton here. We are then going to go back, and what I then call it playing. You play with it a little bit. But that's the fun bit for me, because I guess the laborious bit is you're coming on from there, you're standing there, and actors like to know that structure. But once that's done, I kind of start to I look at my script a lot less actually, and I start to listen to them a lot more. And that's the fun bit. Well, let's do that again, let's play with that. And once I've got that structure, I can allow myself to get lost in the line once in a while. I can think, well, actually, we can spend 10 minutes doing this because I know where this is going. You still have to be conscious of time. I could never, ever work just scene by scene, really picking it apart one after the other, I'd worry that I'd never ever get to Act 5, Scene 3. I'd be lying in bed panicking about it. But at the moment when I go to sleep, what I think about is if I said to my actors tomorrow or tonight, all come in the room, I want you to run from beginning to end, they could run the entirety of Romeo and Juliet now. Some scenes will actually be really, really good, and are flying and are really cooking. Some scenes will be absolutely dire, but they could run it. And I also now, I look through my rehearsal schedule and think, well, I've got time to work those scenes. I know which bits I've got to work and what bits I've got to prioritise. I'm quite particular about sound design. I start using it quite early in rehearsals. So I'll just bring it, I've got a very, very old MacBook, and I'll just bring it in and just rerunning things from QLab, the sound program, just trying cues. I was doing it last night. We had a in a flashback sequence, I want to use this kind of, not a kind of rewind tape, but something to suggest the idea of time and movement and us going back in time.
Tybalt, here slain, whom Romeo's hand did slay.
And it just didn't work. I was trying and it didn't fit. And I'm glad I'm trying it early on, because I want to then try out another few that actually do really kind of embed themselves in the scene. Lewis, who's going to be upping the sound, he'll start to come into my rehearsals in the next few rehearsals, because what I want to do is I want him to take ownership of that. I would have built this design, but I want him then to add things and you know, and trim and edit and play with levels, and it becomes his design. And you know, and it will be his design. The ending will be something that he's shaped, essentially. And so that's a really exciting part of it. The other things, I mean, the other sort of production elements, the really big one is costume, which I'm super excited about. I'm working with Sarah Broad again, who did the costuming for Hamlet for me. And because, as I mentioned before, it's this thing about giving it a sense of identity, but I don't want it to have a time stamp on it. And she's got just wonderful ideas. So what will happen is she'll do sketches, and she'll send her sketches across, almost like mood boards for characters. You know, I met with her and gave her almost like post-it style notes, sound bites for each character, but then she creates something visual from that. And I'd love the Romeos to be, in terms of their costume, linked in some way, thematically linked, but I don't want them wearing the same costume. I just think it would look a bit naff, really, because they get older. I want to develop as they do. So Sarah came back to me the other day and said, how about all of the Romeos, that part of their costume is wearing a band t-shirt, but their choice then in music, you know, becomes more mature, but the colours are still sort of similar. Ideas like that stay with me for the whole day. It's like, that's made my day, because now Sarah's going to go away and just love thinking about, well, what band does Autumn Romeo really love before he becomes Winter Romeo? And it's such a clever idea. Special effects makeup for the nurse. So, you know, Jan Goodwin is going to be doing makeup tests with Imogen playing the nurse. She'll send pictures over to me. And it's a constant sort of back and forth process, those things. Some of it isn't. I like that process because I'm involved in it, but just by virtue of doing it in the cathedral and the time that we're allowed in there, things like lighting and the structural set will just appear. It will appear a couple of days before we open. Matt will lead that with his team. And we'll meet and discuss it in advance, you know, what the requirements are for lighting and the structural bits. But really, once that's in situ, there isn't that creative back and forth, just because of the nature of what it is. It's kind of, that's the scary bit, because when we get in, we'll have to redesign whatever we've done to fit that. Whereas things like costume, hair, makeup, sound, it's this two-way ongoing that actually grows and develops as the piece grows and develops. Set design and lighting design won't. It will be, can we have this? Yes, it'll rise. That's what you asked for. So if anything else, you're going to have to deal with it. So yeah, so there's a lot of moving parts, and even things like, you know, prompts in rehearsal will start happening soon. So, and the whole idea was that all these communities, theatrical communities, get involved in some way. I want more people involved all the time. So we'll have people prompting coming into rehearsals. We've got people working as front of house teams selling merchandise. One of the cast members knows a fight choreographer. So they're going to come in and refine some of the combat things that we've kind of done the basic structure for. They'll put a bit of finesse to it. I think it's great. I mean, if you're talking about community theatre, that is what community theatre is. It's people having their own skill sets, their own interests, but genuinely coming together to create something they're quite proud of and passionate about. I mean, what better hobby is there, than that?
So we're outside Lichfield Cathedral. Cast is gathering, and we're here to do some publicity shots and give out some flyers a little bit later on. So we're waiting for some of the cast to arrive, and obviously it's just so important that everybody's getting involved this morning. It's 3 companies all coming together, and by doing so, just kind of really publicising the importance of community theatre.
I'm the lucky one that gets to be kind of the figurehead of things, and actually I write things down in a post-it and say, could that happen? And some genius then just goes off and creates something, or actually in most cases makes it even better, just builds on it, which is what Sarah's done with the costumes. Because the cast have all seen snippets of it, there's no one really entering the rehearsal room that's seeing it with fresh eyes. They're seeing it as a kind of a process. So having the first person, when it's in its kind of almost finished state, seeing it with fresh eyes, that's exciting and absolutely petrifying as well. I'm looking forward to seeing the world in that space, the world of Verona, just some people in costume on that set, on that catwalk, delivering lines. That's what I'm excited about. Does it match what's in my head? And if it does, it's magical when it happens. It doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, so looking forward to that. The world coming alive a little bit, I think. I want a show that is genuinely exciting and not what the audience are expecting. If an audience comes out thinking it's Romeo and Juliet, and it was fine, but it was Romeo and Juliet. I knew what I was going into, and I left, and I wasn't disappointed. That will disappoint me. I want an audience to come out going, I wasn't expecting that, or at least part of it, I wasn't expecting that. Even if they don't like that part of it, I don't mind that. I love theatre where people talk about it afterwards. At the moment, I feel quite happy that actually I've got a play that is in the right place. We've got the play, and I've got time to play around with character and delivery.
It's really nice to get the societies together, and I really hope this is the start of something that can happen year on year.
I'm feeling good, yeah. It's super exciting to be here in the cathedral and see this amazing space. It's very atmospheric, so yeah, really enjoying it.
I'm very excited. I think it's going to be very fun, and I hope people enjoy it. I'm sure they will. And yeah, it's looking good.
Very exciting being in the cathedral for the first time. It's absolutely beautiful, and we're just getting used to the stage, and I'm feeling very excited.
It's very exciting. We're here. It's in a very noisy rehearsal with all sorts of things going on in the cathedral, which hopefully won't be happening in the actual production. But it's really exciting. It's great to be actually in here. I'm really looking forward to actually getting on the stage myself and doing it. But it's looking really good. We're very excited.
Euphoric and ready to go on for the next 5 words I've got to say, but God, are they important.
Yeah, good. Yeah, can't believe we just actually run it. It's fantastic. Very excited. Can't wait for other people to see it. And it's something we've been working on for like 2 months or something. It's exciting to get the reaction.
I'm tired, emotional, but really proud of the cast. I can't wait. Yeah, absolutely. One, to suck up the echo in the room, because it's a very echoey building, but just really
excited to see kind of what they think of it and how they make of it. There were some real moments where it was like there's the snowing sequence of the full Romeos and Juliets on stage was absolutely how I imagined it. Yeah.
It's very big, and there's people a long way away, so we'll have to shout out, I think. It is brilliant, though. This place is a gorgeous space to do something like this in. Excellent.
The space is amazing. I just hope I can fill it, or we can fill it, but I'm sure we will.
I'm really looking forward to see it all come together.
I feel very excited. I'm very excited to be in the space. It feels more grand now.
Yeah, definitely. It's become very real, but in a good way. And it's very grand, it's very beautiful. It's really feels good.
It's the perfect use of the space. I can't believe they've not done Shakespeare here before.
Have they not?
No, apparently not. Oh. I could have lied.
A love-struck Romeo sings the streets a serenade, laying everybody low with a love song that he made. He finds a street light, steps out of the shade. He says something like, "You and me, babe, how about it?" Juliet says,
Hey, it's Romeo. You nearly gave me a heart attack.
He's underneath the window, she's singing,
Hey, love, my boyfriend's back. You shouldn't come around here singing at people like that. Anyway, what are you going to do about it?
"Ooh, Juliet, the dice was loaded from the start, and I bet when you imploded into my heart, and I forget the movie song. When you're gonna realise that it's just that the time was wrong, Juliet." Both come up on different streets. Yeah, they were both streets of shame, both dirty, both mean. Yeah, the dream was just the same, and I've dreamed your dream for you, and now your dream is real. How can you look at me as if I was just another one of your deals? Well, you can fall for chains of silver, you can fall for chains of gold, you can fall for pretty strangers and the promises they hold. You promised me everything, you promised me thick and thin, and now you just say,
I used to have a scene with him.
"Oh, Juliet, when we made love, you used to cry. You said, there's a place for us. You know the movie song. When you're gonna realise that it's just that the time was wrong. Oh, Julie, Julie." And I can't do a talk like they talk on the TV, and I can't do a love song like the way it's meant to be, and I can't do everything, but I'll do anything for you. Can't do everything except be in love with you, and all I do is miss you and the way we used to be, and all I do is keep the beat. Bad company. All I do is kiss you through the bars of Orion. Julie, I'll do the stars with you anytime. Juliet, when we made love, you used to cry. You said, there's a place for us. You know the movie song. One day we're gonna realise that it's just that the time was wrong. Juliet, I'm so in love. Julie. And the love-struck Romeo sings the streets a serenade, laying everybody low with a love song that he made. And he finds a street light, steps out of the shade, says something like, "You and me, babe, how about it?"
Nah, you're alright.